Welcome viewers to the latest edition of Casino Life and Sports Betting Operator TV. My name is Peter White and I own this media. Today we're in the beautiful city of Vienna and we're at the headquarters of Casinos Austria and Austrian Lotteries to interview the CEO, Erwin van Lambaart. Welcome, Erwin.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Well, if that's okay with you, we'd like to crack on with the first question. What have been amongst your primary tasks since taking on the role at Casinos Austria, and what progress has been made in those areas so far?
So I'm actually ending my second year, so I've been with the company now for 2 years. As you know, I ran the casinos of Holland Casino for over 6 years before that. Obviously, when you move into a different country with a different regulation, as we all know, because it's all per country in Europe, you need to get to know the language. I do speak German, so that does help. But obviously, legal German is a little bit of a challenge in the beginning. So you need to get to know the people, you need to get to know the regulation, you need to go to the product and the culture, because basically there is a different culture. We always talk about Europe as a whole, but every country does have its own culture of how people play, how they want to go out, how they enjoy life, right? So I think that was my first task, to get to know my staff, to get to know the challenges of the company. I think, the company has been in quite a bit of a political turmoil here, without its fault actually, because it had nothing to do with the company by itself. It had a lot to do with the political environment here. So I think one of my main tasks was to basically quiet the environment down, have a very clear strategy where do you want to go for the shareholders and the company as a whole. And that's basically what I've been doing over the last 2 years. Have a clear strategy. We're quite successful, which always helps, as we all know. I get to know the people and the regulation.
Illegal gaming in Austria costs the Austrian government a fortune in lost tax revenue. What steps are being taken and what more can be done?
Actually, it's quite interesting because with our Win Today platform, we have a monopoly in this country. So it's a monopoly system, which seems to be working really well here. Obviously, as we all know, for a lot of people it's just good fun, but we also know that our product offers serious risks for people when they play it also online. Our market share today is around 58%, however it is growing. There's a very interesting development here in this country. So what's happening is that a lot of illegal offerings have been in the market for quite some time, and the highest courts in Austria actually ruled that any player who played on an illegal non-licensed platform in the past, maybe even going back 20 or 25 years, they have the right to get their money back, because basically they were playing on an illegal product that never should have been offered, and the operators who were illegal in this country accepted their money. Obviously, when that happened, quite a few illegal operators left Austria basically overnight, and they're now refusing to pay these players their money back. Another court decision by the highest courts here was that actually board members are personally liable for this happening if they do not pay out. So after that, another few operators obviously left Austria in a hurry, because I think quite a few people in boardrooms were getting a little anxious and a little nervous. That being said, I think we play a crucial role when it comes to player protection online here in this country. We have one of the toughest regulations in Europe, in this country, and we actually made it a little tougher ourselves. It's a voluntary move. I'm a father of 2 sons, they're 20 and 24. Of course they love to be online, of course they like to play online and gamble online, one of their favorite soccer teams, or do some live casino games, as we all know, because that's very successful and very popular nowadays. But I don't want them to get into trouble, because basically we want people to have a good time and stay with us for years and basically pay limited numbers of amounts of money and not just spend it all at once. So the limit here was 800 a week per player to play euros. And we just said, for a young adult until 24 years old, that's quite a lot of money, because basically net-wise, that's about 3,500 euros a month. So we actually suggested that for young adults that should be brought down to 250, which is now in place. And I think by doing that, we're protecting young players even better than before. By doing that, we're also setting an example, which we think is really important. Obviously, within a few years, we need to extend our license, and we truly believe as a company, we should not only be talking about responsible gaming, we should actually act upon it and put it into practice.
Would it be fair to say then that the main characteristics of your career is leisure and entertainment, from theatre and television production to then the gaming and leisure entertainment sectors? So do you see the future of land-based gaming becoming more closely aligned with television entertainment?
Well, I think if you look at my career, it's always about people, human behaviour, entertainment, giving people a good time, but do it responsibly. I think that's, I've loved doing that when I was a live entertainment producer. I've been producing, a lot of shows and arena shows and a lot of television productions, and I've been working in hotel chains internationally for many years. So I think, everything that you want to do or make people more happy, which in a way is what the gambling world is about as well, makes it really good fun for me. And do that on the highest level, very professionally, very responsibly. But yeah, I do believe that the hardcore game will always be there, and that's fine, because we do have, as we all know, real hardcore players. They love the game, they like the adrenaline. Sometimes we need to say, hang on, this might be enough for today, and they'll always will be staying. But I think by making the heart of a casino, which is the game, the heart of it, and keep it as a heart, and making that heart a little bigger and innovate on it, because I also think the interaction with players and guests for a younger generation is completely different, and you need to adapt to that. And I think the industry has had quite some challenging years actually finding the right answer to that. But I think the experience as a whole, the entertainment value that we're offering, is becoming more and more important all the time. I'm not sure that television, traditional television is probably not it, but streaming, everything that you do on your mobile devices, the integration of the two, which regulatory wise, as we all know, is quite complicated still. But I truly believe that that's the future of our industry in general, because we're an entertainment product with serious risk, which we need to take absolutely very seriously, and we need to keep working on every single day. But at the end of the day, we're an entertainment product, and we're also a hospitality product with land-based casinos specifically. And I also believe, but this is my philosophy for online as well, is that we should not talk about clients, but we should talk about guests when they come to us online as well. It's simply a different experience about how you build your website, how you make that interaction work, and about what the feeling is that you actually try to create, the emotion you try to create, where people are playing with you online, or even with lottery products, because we have a very large lottery operation here as well. So yeah, I think that the entertainment value needs to be increased. I think we need to innovate more. And by doing that, I'm quite sure that the land-based industry as casinos in general has a bright future. After the pandemic, if you look at how we were able as an industry across Europe, I would say, to get people back into casinos and the fun they're having again and the enjoyment that we're able to deliver, is absolutely crucial, and actually proves that I think we have a bright future if we do the right things and innovations at the right time.
Would you say, from a promotional standpoint of engagement, what is the approach of communication of the leisure gaming entertainment hosted Axios Austria with the age group termed as Gen Z?
I think that when it comes to land-based casinos, because it's a little different from the product vertical per vertical. So I think if you look at the land-based casinos, I think a very long time, a lot of people within the traditional land-based casinos industry said younger generations are not interested in visiting land-based casinos. I think that's simply untrue. They do like to be treated as James Bond. We all do. So of course a 25 or a 30-year-old likes that as well. You just need to give it completely different interaction. So, of course, if you're playing in a VIP area and you're catering to 55 to 60-year-olds, it does demand a completely different way of hospitality, dealership, supervision than if you're playing with a group of 5, 6 best friends coming from a soccer team or an ice hockey team coming into a casino and having a beer and playing some money, right? So you need to adapt the experience, the interaction, the training of your staff, and actually hire a different kind of of personality to be able to be very successful with this younger generation, because they are demanding a different experience, and you just can't say it's a standard product, so either you like it or you don't. You need to be able to adapt to these new target groups, which is the biggest challenge, I think, today, because you do not want to lose your existing target groups. You want to cater to them as well, and at the same time you need to attract your new generation to be very successful the next 20, 25 years along the line. I think in the US they have been able to fix this really, really well. I mean, if you look at the record numbers today in the US with the American gaming industry, it's amazing. If you look at what they're doing in Las Vegas, it's amazing. And I think, me, myself as well, at least I'm in Vegas once or twice a year, and I think many of my colleagues there are there as well. But it is a different animal. And we should not make the mistake to just copy what's happening in Las Vegas and put it into Europe, because it's not going to work. We have a completely different culture. We have a different way of offering the product, but you need to cater to each and every target group very, very, very carefully. If you look at the online world, very interestingly, we're now finding out, and quite a few researchers have been done on that the younger generation, by playing online poker, for example, are now finding out that playing poker live is actually more fun. So they're coming into the casinos. We're very successful with it here in Austria at the moment. Our poker tournaments, also internationally, are extremely successful. And also with a younger generation player, because they found out on the internet they like the game, but they want to have the real experience, which basically is in a live-based casino. And that's the same with the live casino. I think we all know that the vertical of live casino online is the fastest growing vertical at the moment internationally. And it has a reason, because it has this interaction. And the younger generation, again the 25, 30, 35-year-olds, are finding out online what good fun it is to play blackjack. And even if you only play 50 or 70 or 100 euros, that's completely fine. But they want to have the real experience in the casinos as well, not alone, but with their friends. And by catering to that, so we created quite a few concepts that, so you can actually rent your own table here with 6 friends. We have some fun and friends packages here, food and beverage wise, we cater to them. And they're not overspending too much money at all, but by doing that, we're creating the fun factor. We're building on new target groups, and for some of them it might be that they say, well, it's not for me, which is completely fine. And some of them might say, well, I love going to the casino once a week, once a month, and I'll keep doing it because I just like instead of going into the cinema, restaurant, or a nightclub.
What is the overall approach of casinos, Austria and Lotteries to the promotion of responsible gaming?
I think the main principle, and I think that's really in the DNA of this organization, to be honest, is that we want to have a long-term, valuable relationship with our clients and our guests. I think that's the principal element of it. We don't want to take the money and run. We want to have a long-term relationship. As a principle, if you have that into your DNA in the way you think, you're not maximizing your revenue. You're optimizing it, maybe, making it attractive, but you're never maximizing it. I think that's a really important principle that we are trying to live here. So, in German we say Verantwortung leben. It basically means, we're living responsibility and reacting upon it. I think the example that I gave earlier on about setting our own boundaries even tighter than the regulator asked from us is a very good example. Because I think we really want to live it and put it into practice. I think within our industry today, reputation is everything. If you have a good reputation, if people feel secure, if they know that you really care about them, they're much more likely to come back and play with you instead of selling with anybody else. Obviously, there's a factor here which is important in Austria. Austria is the only country in Europe with 8 direct neighbors. So basically within 2 to 2.5 hours, from any place basically in Austria, you're in another country, and they have casinos as well. So we also need to deliver that hospitality feel and the experience probably on the highest level of all the surrounding countries to be successful, also to keep people from Austria playing with us, but also we have a very large target group which is internationally. So Vienna is a very, I would say, European hotspot. It has become very, very popular. Tourism here is booming. I mean, tourism has always been important to Austria, but it's amazing how Austria is doing with the incoming tourism. International tourism, the Americans are back again, the Asians not so much yet. Middle Eastern guests, we have a casino in Zelensee, which is very successful with the Arabian market, for example. So I think that by offering those kind of products as well, but taking that responsibility really seriously also for foreign guests, they start talking about it. And sometimes it is uncomfortable, because if we have a very successful businessman who obviously very legitimately makes his money, because we're very tough here on AML. We partly state-owned here. 1/3 of our shares are owned by the state, so we better be very good at it. Sometimes it's uncomfortable because we need to ask questions, because we're obliged to, and we do that in the best, charming way possible. But we need to ask them. We need to know where people's money comes from, and I think it's crucial to live that, because we do not want to make money that's made in a shady way at all. And I do not want to make money, although some other operators might think differently, of putting people into problems. I simply don't want to have to happen. And I think by having that principle way of looking at the business on a daily basis, because you need to look at it on a daily basis, I think that's something that's very much in our DNA, and we're living it, and we're living it with fun. So we do not see it as something we have to do, we want to do it. And then if you approach it as something that you really want to do, it actually becomes good fun. Instead of, you feel a burden, oh God, I need to ask again and fill out another form, which sometimes it is, there is a lot of regulation, and sometimes it can be a little bit more practical, I'm not denying that. But you need to make it fun to make your job, to do your job really well, also on that front. And I think by approaching it that way, our people are pretty good at it. So I think that regulation helps us to do our job better, and I also think that regulation helps to protect people. So as a principle, I'm very much in favor of it. I think what we're trying to achieve as an ECA is to, first of all, outline very, very, very clearly that the emphasis on the licensed operators is sometimes a little too much, and the attention that they're paying to the non-licensed operators is basically non-existent, which is a big issue. Because if you're licensed in Europe, you have gone through a huge screening process, trust me, until the beneficial owner system, the KYC checks that need to be done, where the money comes from, who the operators are, who the executives are, how your policies are being put into place. You have, in a lot of the European countries, you still have, every single day that a land-based casino is open, you have an inspector from the regulator at the table, in the house, all the time. And I think that a lot of politicians who are making these regulations and laws are very often not well informed enough, which is our responsibility at the end of the day to do, about what's already in place when it comes to AML regulation, player protection, and everything that's got to do with that. When a lot of these laws are being put together, specifically in Brussels, they're put together in a rather theoretical kind of model. And I think our biggest challenge as casino industry or gambling industry as a whole is that most of the time these regulations and laws are not applicable, in the sense that they're practically not doable. So they're applicable by law, so we need to do it. But at the end of the day, and I think that's the best example I can always give, if you want to open a bank account in a European country now, you need to hand in all your paperwork, you're being KYC checked, etc., and you might need to wait 3 to 7 days before your bank account's actually be acknowledged and it actually is being opened for you. You have the time probably if you have a bank account, because you can wait a few days. If you're on 11 o'clock on a Saturday night in front of a casino door, you can't tell anybody, well, sorry, but you need to wait for 3 days because we need to do some checks. It simply doesn't work. It's a completely different business dynamic. And the basic law, though, is written in the sense of, you're kind of a bank, which obviously we're not. We're a financial institution. In some countries and some we're not by law, but we're not. So you need to come up with regulation and laws which actually are practically doable for us, and then we're completely fine to be double-checked, triple-checked, and do whatever we need to be doing at the end of the day. And I think that, over-regulation is a big risk, because at some moment in Brussels they were talking about having a limit for €500, €100, €1,000 levels, because we're trying to do what exactly, to be honest, right? So there have been talks, I know, in Amsterdam by the mayor of Amsterdam saying, I do not want anybody to pay cash for a bag of Louis Vuitton over €1,000 anymore in the shops in Amsterdam. By law, you can't actually deny anybody paying in cash for that. But it basically says that everybody who has worked hard, has some money, or just put some money aside to be able to buy a bag like it because they just like it, you're basically treating them as a kind of a criminal, and they're not. So I truly believe that, yes, I do not want to make any money in my own company, and I'm absolutely sure that all the members of the ECA do not want to make any money based on criminal behavior at all, but it needs to be doable, practically, it should be able to be implemented, and you also need to have a kind of a trust level of your guests and clients. Not everybody who has money has a bad character, on the contrary, I think.
With regards to your role as chairman of the ECA, what's on the agenda for 2024?
Well, it's an important year. I've just been re-elected for the next 3 years, unanimously by the General Assembly, which is a big honor, I think, to be able to have the ECA. I mean, we represent 31 countries, over 700 casinos, and almost 70,000 very professional people working in the casino land-based industry across Europe. And we will have a new European Parliament in summer. So there are elections on the 9th of June. I think it's 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9th of June, and the expectations today is that around 60% of Parliament will change, which is a really big number. So I think our main task for 24 and 25, when the new Parliament is there, and also when the new European Commission will be installed at a certain moment, it's really important to have a dialogue, to be there proactively about the regulation, about how we can make things better, about the responsibility as an ECA and all the members that we are taking already. And I think that when it comes to AML, there will be a new AML agency. It's going to be based in Frankfurt, as we all know, right? The Anti-Money Laundering Agency. They will be, working on new legislation. So we want to be there to work on tough, fair, but doable and practicable regulation when it comes to AML. I think the reputation of the industry is really crucial. Many of our land-based members, about 65% of them, now also offer online products, so we'll also be looking at how can we help our members to also help them on a European level regarding European regulation when it comes to online. That's absolutely crucial. I think we really want to celebrate and get across in Brussels how great the talents are that are working in our industry. So the European Dealer Championship will be happening in Venlo in the Netherlands this year. It was in Brussels last year. It was in Monte Carlo the year before. The professionalism, the dedication, the high level of quality we're able to deliver with our dealers across Europe. I think that many times when I speak to politicians, they're not aware about the intense training program, the retraining program they go through. So I think that's a very important point to bring to the politicians as well. And I think in general to be getting a little bit more space for innovation. I think that our guests and our clients are asking innovation, but very often local regulators, because we need to talk to local regulators for that. They do not understand that innovation actually also means a better attractive product, and at the same time might even bring more player protection at the same time. By saying no all the time to innovation, basically they're pushing going the way forward for the industry backwards, and I think that's not fair. So I think those from an ECA perspective, I think that's really crucial. We do talk, for example, also with Europol very intensively, and we have explained to them how big the iceberg is under the water of the non-licensed illegal products that are being offered, land-based and online, and that really needs to be attacked, because they're giving our reputation as an industry a very bad color, but very often that iceberg has very criminal organizations offering illegal gambling products, and they're basically criminals who are running it, and that has nothing to do with our professional industry whatsoever.
How is life for you and your family in Vienna?
Probably anybody who's been in Vienna will recognize that it's an absolutely beautiful city. It has been voted, I think, 12 or 13 years in a row by experts as the most attractive city in the world to live in and to work in, which is absolutely true. I get it. I mean, arts, culture, restaurants. Yeah, they have a lot of parks. It's a beautiful city. We have an apartment here in the city centre. It's really wonderful to live and to work here. You know, the Höflichkeit, as they say, you know, the protocol, which is out here still in Austria, which probably comes from all the old days with the emperor and the empress, is still tangible here in the culture. But it's not only Vienna. I think it's a really beautiful country. I mean, if you look at the nature here, it's amazing. You know, you can go skiing, you can go hiking in both winter and in summer. To be honest, Vienna is not Austria, and Austria is not Vienna. I think that Austria is much more than Vienna, but I love both of it. Yeah, and I do travel a lot. But and I'm Dutch, and I'm very proud to be Dutch. So the orange color will always be in my veins. But I think I can truly say that Austria and Vienna has become my second home here.
What are amongst your main objectives for your role at Casinos Austria and Casinos Austria Lotteries for 2024?
It's in this country, every 15 years you need to apply for the licenses again. Which is a complicated situation, because basically you do not know exactly how they're expecting you to hand in the bid. So basically our lottery license will end by the end of 27, and a portion of our casino licenses run out by 27, another portion runs out by 2030. So I think we're very well prepared. I think we've proven for many years that we're absolutely the best partner for Austria. Do not forget that we're the number 2 taxpayer in this country. We pay them more than 700 million in taxes every single year, which obviously, you know, schools, roads, hospitals, etc. are built from. I think we take a responsibility really strongly and very well. I think on the tourism front, we're extremely important. So we do not only do what we do to our own benefit, but also for the city, the region, and the people who live there, specifically also for the casinos. So preparing for that new license and making that even stronger, I think for 24 is an absolutely important goal, because we expect that somewhere by the end of this year, the bid papers will be sent out, and then we have about half a year probably to send them in. The second thing is actually to keep building. Within a few weeks we will be publishing our numbers. I'm not unhappy about them, so hopefully we can have another good year in 2024 as well. We're working on some other responsible gaming new elements. We introduced Play Responsible last year, and Play Responsible basically is, you know, our basic philosophy about how we look at the company as a whole. So it has play, fun in it, and it has responsibility in it. That's why it's called Play Responsible. Anybody who wants to use it, sorry, it's protected. You can't use the name, it's ours. But I think by living that philosophy as a kind of an overarching kind of model, that's something else that we will be working on very intensively for 24. And we have started a lot of management development programs for our talents. I think, you know, after the COVID times, it's great to see that everybody knows that it's not very easy to find good talent, but very luckily we are finding them, and we want to keep them. But then we also need to give them the possibility to grow, to develop themselves. So there's a lot of human capital development going on, also for women, because I think the inclusivity is a very important goal, not only for us here in Austria, but also for the ECA as a whole, to get more women into crucial executive roles, but also in general to become more inclusive. So I think that's another very important point that we have. And we're still looking for innovation. So the year 24 absolutely is also talking to our suppliers, talking with our partners in the industry, to find new innovations, new ideas, so that it's fun today, but it also stays fun tomorrow.
Well, thank you, Erwin. It's been a pleasure, this interview with you. Really appreciate it. Thank you.